January 29th, 2024, a 6-year-old girl named Hind Rajab was murdered by the IOF 401st Armored Brigade. She was murdered alongside her aunt, her uncle, and 4 of her cousins while fleeing the ongoing invasion and bombardment of Gaza City. The black SUV she was traveling in was struck by a tank shell 13 to 23 meters away, killing everyone except Hind and her cousin Leon Hamada. Leon immediately called the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, begging for a paramedic. She could be heard on call screaming as machine gun fire pierced through the car windows, eventually killing her and leaving Hind stranded for 3 hours, bleeding to death while on call with the PRCS, until the connection was lost after the sound of an explosion. 10 days later, the car was found with the deceased body of Hind Rajab and her entire family. The paramedic truck, which had been sent to rescue her, was also destroyed, with both paramedics, Yusuf Al-Zaino and Ahmed Al-Madoun, being killed. Inside the destroyed ambulance, the sabot from an M830A1 high-explosive anti-tank multi-purpose tracer round was found. During a later investigation, the hole in the ambulance was found to be consistent with that of the same M830A1 round.
Think about your neighbors, think about what you're doing. Think about your fucking city.
The serial number on the round traces back to the Iowa Army ammunition plant in Middleton, Iowa, operated by Mason and Hanger. Dan Zimmermann acquired Mason and Hanger in 1999. Nearly 2 months earlier, on December 8th, 2023, the U.S. government invoked an emergency measure to authorize the sale of 1,400 tank shells to the state of Israel. This package was worth $106.5 million and was from the U.S. Army inventory. Prominently included in this package was a sale of M830A1 high-explosive anti-tank multi-purpose tracer rounds. The same rounds that were used to murder Hind Rajab, her uncle, her aunt, her 4 cousins, and especially the same rounds that were found in the ambulance that was sent to rescue her. We are standing in front of the Dan Zimmermann National Headquarters in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. For almost a year and a half, the company who produced the rounds that killed Hind Rajab, who sold those rounds to the U.S. military, has been allowed to operate with complete impunity in our city right underneath their noses. Shame! The presence of Dan Zimmermann makes a mockery of us on a daily basis. It is a constant, smug reminder of the complete exemption from justice under which the butchers of Gaza operate wherever they go. Shame! Shame! We no longer accept this reality. DNZ assert that they can operate with complete impunity. DNZ employees assert a world, assert a reality where they can walk by us on the street, where they can sit by us on SEPTA, where they can sit next to us in restaurants, where they can attend concerts with us, where they can attend school with us, and where they can live side by side with us, while no one questions what the fuck they do when they go into this office. Shame! Shame! We no longer accept the right of the murderers of Hind Rajab and countless other victims of the Gaza genocide to operate within our city. DNZ, you can't hide! DNZ, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! We charge you with genocide!
As was previewed during the short ceasefire earlier this year, the true human toll of the accelerated genocide will not be revealed until people have time to return to the rubble and account for their dead. I can't bring you close to understanding the immense grief, terror, and despair that the Palestinian people have been enduring for the past 19 months. A short sentence can contain a massacre. Death counts can contain lifetimes. In the past 24 hours, 52 martyrs and 503 injuries arrived at Gaza hospitals, with many still under the rubble. Around 50 to 75 martyrs have arrived at Gaza hospitals per day, and these are conservative estimates. Like the tally of dead that the Gaza Ministry of Health shares to the world, the hundreds of thousands in Gaza who are on the brink of starvation, and all those that have died from issues related to the genocide do not go unaccounted for. The lack of medical supplies, lack of food, lack of water, and untreated illnesses that they have to deal with lead to hundreds of thousands of deaths that have not been counted. In the past weeks, we've also seen an alarming trend of IOF targeting aid distribution areas. In the past 5 days, 52 have been martyred and 340 have been wounded in Rafah and central Gaza alone at aid distribution centers. On Thursday, the IOF issued forced displacement orders for all of northern and eastern Gaza City. 2 days later, they issued forced displacement orders for the entirety of South Gaza, particularly Khan Yunis. From Friday to Sunday, both northern and southern Gaza have faced relentless airstrikes, bombing, and demolition. Khan Yunis and Rafah have been especially targeted, with non-stop shelling and artillery. Gaza City and Jabalia have also faced heavy shelling, with multiple towers in Gaza City targeted. In less than 48 hours, the Israeli occupation bombed around 60 buildings in Gaza City and northern Gaza, containing dozens of residential apartments and hundreds of Palestinian families. Khuza'a, Abasan al-Jadida, and Al-Atatra in Khan Yunis have all been completely erased, with no homes or roads left visible. Shame! Shame! Other Khan Yunis neighborhoods are all 50 to 90% gone. Jenin continues to face severe ground assault, home raids, and civilian arrests. 600 homes in Jenin camp have been destroyed, with the rest partially damaged and uninhabitable. Since the renewed aggression on January 21, about 22,000 residents in Jenin camp have been forcibly displaced. Homes are ransacked and turned into military outposts. Shame!
Shame! The IOF bombed a group of citizens waiting for bread at Abu Iskandar Bakery in Gaza City, murdering 9, including a child. Shame! Shame! American mercenaries threw grenades at Palestinians who came to receive aid at the new American quote-unquote distribution point south of the Netzarim axis. Shame! Shame! On Friday, the IOF opened fire on displaced crowds, wounding 20 in Burej camp, and bombed a mosque, a barber shop, and tents in northern Gaza. This is part of the Zionist entity's mission to depopulate the north of Gaza through genocide and ethnic cleansing. Operating through terror and fear, the IOF forced Gazans to live in a constant state of panic and fright. No aid has been allowed to enter into the north, where approximately 1 million Gazans are currently present. Shame! Shame! Zionist settlers, in a show of their support of the genocide, attempted to block the entrance of humanitarian aid to Gaza. Mohammed Hussein Akalan, a child of no more than 7 years old, was the last surviving member of his family. On Friday, he died of his wounds sustained because of an Israeli airstrike on his home in Deir el-Bala.
Shame!
Shame! On Saturday was the day of the Rafah aid massacre. The IOF massacred young men heading to the American aid distribution site west of Rafah, entitled the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. At least 31 martyrs ascended and over 200 were wounded by IOF open fire on the crowd. This massacre was one of the highest casualty tolls from a single incident since the start of the genocide. The GHF is tied to Israeli and American intelligence agencies. In a blatant attempt to erase the crime, the GHF insisted that there were no deaths or injuries and that the incident did not occur, contradicting daylight footage and testimony from doctors and eyewitnesses. IOF drones fired on a crowd at an aid distribution point in central Gaza Strip, killing 1 and injuring 18. In Jenin, occupation military vehicles deliberately rammed a bus carrying pilgrims on Hajj, all former prisoners and families of prisoners and martyrs. Continuing their practice of targeting medical centers, IOF armored divisions have been encroaching on the European hospital in Khan Yunis, functioning at full capacity with limited resources. Sunday, Through Sunday, the IOF intensified bombings through both North and South Gaza. At dawn on Monday, 70 residential buildings were destroyed, and 7 more in Sheikh Radwan were destroyed in the afternoon. Artillery shellings from tanks martyred 4 in tents in Mawasi, west of Khan Yunis. In the evening, IOF blew up Noura al-Kabi Kidney Dialysis Center in northern Gaza and continued massive demolitions east of Rafah. The IOF directed belt fire across Deir al-Bala, Khan Yunis, and the north and east of Gaza City. 51 martyrs were documented ascended. The IOF has deployed soldiers through Tulkaram camp and Nur Shams camp, barring residents from entering the camps and continuing explosions, gunfire, and house raids through Tulkaram. Multiple homes have been stormed and raided, with soldiers ransacking houses, smashing contents, and arresting residents. Soldiers climbed several buildings in Deir al-Ghussun and cut internet tower cables, cutting off telecommunication. The raids on Sunday alone led to the martyrdom of 13 civilians, including a child and an 8-month-old pregnant mother. Dozens have been detained. It is true that there is importance in bearing witness, especially when the state is doing its best to obscure what is happening every day. However, we must remember that as those living in the imperial core, as those living on the back of genocide, colonialism, and occupation, it does not do to just witness. We must be organized, we must identify openings, and we must take action. It will take time and planning and energy, but that is our job, and that is our responsibility to the people of Palestine and the people right here suffering under the same apparatus. Thank you.